Professeur Michael Wichansky, bonjour, merci à vous d'être là. Vous êtes gastro-entérologue et vous êtes surtout directeur du service de gastro-entérologie pédiatrique à l'hôpital, au prestigieux hôpital Adassa. Merci à vous, merci d'être là. Et nous allons commencer de suite par la première question. Qu'est-ce que la maladie cœliaque?
Celiac disease is not really a disease, and we'll get to that later, but it is a problem of the body attacking itself. One of those problems where the body attacks itself, and in this particular case, on a certain genetic background, otherwise not everybody has this problem, and it is also, of course, related to eating of gluten, which is part of wheat. First of all, the reason why I say it is not a disease, it is because it is very, very common. Celiac occurs in 1 in 100 people, which is very, very common. And the genetics, you asked about the genetics, there are certain genetic background which celiac has to occur. We all have what's called different genes which govern everything which we have in our body, whether it is eye color or habitus, and this celiac occurs with a certain type of HLA. HLA is one of the genetic types which we have, and there are certain, we can look at it in the blood work of a person, a certain type of genetics. But not everybody who has this genetic test has celiac, so it is not 100%. But you have to have this genetics in order to get celiac.
We speak about the gen DQ2.
Yes, HLA-DQ2 or HLA-DQ8. These are blood tests which you can order in any laboratory. And what I use these tests, that if I have a patient or a child who possibly has celiac, if you haven't got HLA-DQ or DQ8, you have not got celiac. So that's what I use it for. It is not 100% in favor of celiac. And as far as gluten, what is gluten? Well, gluten is a part of wheat. In fact, it's also wheat and barley and rye and spelt, and it is a protein, a part of a protein, which is only 33 amino acids. In other words, of the building blocks of the protein, it is 33 amino acids, and this is gluten. And what happens is, in this individual who has this genetic background, and there is a possibility that the gluten will affect the intestine. And what gluten does to the intestine is that it causes the villi to be destroyed. Villi, if you remember from your biology in high school, that the intestine is a long tube, 3 to 4 meters long, and in order for food to be absorbed, it has a very increased surface area on every single cell, which is the villi. And if you look at a small bowel biopsy, a small little piece of the intestine, with somebody who has celiac, it is flat. In other words, the villi are damaged. And this is what causes all the problems.
Alors, quels sont les symptômes, les principaux symptômes qui vont affecter les jeunes patients ou les patients plus âgés atteints de maladie cœliaque?
The fascinating thing about celiac disease is that it is changing. When I was in medical school, celiac disease was a disease of children, of young children who were not growing well, and they had a very large abdomen because a lot of gas, and they were very irritable because the gluten caused damage everywhere, and they had a lot of symptoms like diarrhea and abdominal pain. But nowadays, even you as a doctor of older people have to think about celiac, because celiac can be diagnosed at any age, at any situation. The oldest patient which I diagnosed as a pediatrician was a 28-year-old lady who could not get pregnant, who had a lot of problems with getting pregnant. And what the problem was, that she was anemic. She had a low hemoglobin, and the gynecologists thought that it was a gynecological problem, but it wasn't. She had a low hemoglobin because she was losing blood in her intestine, and that caused her to have anemia. And by the time she was referred to me, we did the test for celiac, and when she did she was treated, then she got pregnant, and she now has 4 children. But I have to tell you that you, as a geriatrician, we had a case in Hadassah about 2 years ago of a lady who was 60, who also had anemia, and when she was asked as a child, she had diarrhea and problems and abdominal pain, and turns out that she had celiac. So even because of all ages, and the interesting thing about celiac is that it can come at any age of life, and certainly with other problems. One other issue which is quite common is recurrent fractures. Sometimes a patient is referred to an orthopedic doctor or a rheumatological doctor with fractures, and you find that calcium is low. And why is the calcium low? Because the patient is not absorbing calcium, because these villi are damaged. But by the time the orthopedic doctor or the rheumatological doctor, it takes time to think about celiac, and that is something which we need to think about in everything. And also people with other problems like liver disease or diabetes.
Donc en fait, vous êtes en train de nous dire que aujourd'hui, il y a une évolution dans le diagnostic de la maladie cœliaque, et que ce que nous avons connu il y a de nombreuses années, puisque c'était une maladie qui était réservée aux jeunes enfants, aujourd'hui, il y a différentes formes de maladie cœliaque. Et on n'est plus dans une forme isolée, restreinte, qui toucherait les petits-enfants.
So, celiac disease classically is really seen as we see in the clinic. A child comes into the clinic with what's called failure to thrive, or not growing well, could be height and weight, and has some abdominal pain and some diarrhea. And then it is very, very simple. Every doctor today would take celiac tests. These tests are very simple, and they are antibodies. And one of the other very interesting aspects of celiac disease is we know that the antibodies are formed as a result of gluten attacking the intestine in susceptible patients. So we can take a very simple blood test, which will take only a few days to come back, and if it is above a certain level, we suspect celiac disease. In most cases, we want to get a diagnosis by actually doing a tissue diagnosis, a histological diagnosis. And in children, that means bringing them into hospital and putting them under anesthetic, and we insert a gastroscope, which is a flexible black tube with a camera on the end of it, and we can see into the intestine. We can take biopsies of the intestine, and we come out again, and the child goes home after a couple of hours. It's a very simple procedure. Sometimes we don't need to do a biopsy. If there is celiac in the family, if a brother or sister has celiac, and the parents already know that something is not quite right with a new child, then we can just take the blood test and start the treatment of a gluten-free diet, and I'll get to that in a second. But there are some aspects, and I've just come in 1 hour ago from my clinic when I saw a child who was a few months ago came in very, very sick to Hadassah emergency room with extreme diarrhea, and he was very, very close to death, and this is called a celiac crisis, and this is when a child has a severe form of celiac disease. And in this form, we did not do a biopsy. The child was in intensive care for a few days, and we started a gluten-free diet without the biopsy. But this is very, very rare, but so it can happen. What is a gluten-free diet? It is a diet where gluten is removed from the diet. It is quite difficult to do in the beginning, but nowadays it is very, very simple. There are very fancy restaurants now in all parts of the world which is gluten-free, and it's very common to get gluten-free food, and it really should not be a problem to be on a gluten-free diet. So that is the child, and really once the child starts a gluten-free diet, within a few months, the level of antibodies goes down. The parents come into the clinic smiling because the child feels much better, and it's really quite simple. In the older population, who are of course well grown, there are other problems like anemia, iron deficiency anemia, or any vitamin deficiency. We have to suspect celiac today. Recurrent fractures, sometimes neurological problems, calcium being low in the blood, or hepatitis.
Donc, en fait, professeur Wischanski, aujourd'hui, pour les médecins que nous sommes, tout signe clinique doit nous alerter et doit nous faire penser à la maladie cœliaque.
So, there is a joke in Hadassah that I teach the medical students that anything which you don't quite know what it is, you have to think about celiac. Because it covers so much of our medicine today. We know that there is, I have one of my slides for teaching, is an iceberg above the water. We only know the celiac which is above the surface, but there is a whole bunch of patients below the surface who we don't even know have celiac, and this needs to be checked out.
Quelles sont les maladies associées à la maladie cœliaque?
As I mentioned, celiac is an autoimmune problem. In other words, it is a problem of the body attacking itself with the right genetic background and gluten. But there are many other disorders like that. One of those, a very common one, and we see it also in children, is diabetes mellitus type 1. And we know now today that any child who is diagnosed with diabetes, always the endocrinologists do take celiac tests as well, because it does go together. And we do have several patients who have diabetes and celiac, which is actually unfortunate because diabetes is also difficult with a diet with sugar, and of course celiac is difficult with a diet with gluten, but the children do well with it. Other problems include thyroid disease and other autoimmune problems which we have to think would go together with celiac.
On parle beaucoup d'un test qui serait le test de provocation au gluten. Qu'en est-il aujourd'hui?
Yeah. That's a good question. Sometimes we do not have the complete diagnosis of celiac. Sometimes the blood tests are not so diagnostic, or the biopsy is not diagnostic, and we put the child on a gluten-free diet for a while to see what happens. But later on, it could be even a year or two later, in some situations we put the child back onto gluten, as you call the provocative test, or a gluten challenge it's called. A challenge, we put the child back onto gluten for 2 to 3 months, and then we repeat the tests. Now, if the child really has celiac, in my experience, even after 2 or 3 weeks, the child will know he doesn't feel well anymore, and he will feel ill, and he will stop eating the gluten. But sometimes we do repeat the blood test and the biopsy later on, just to confirm that this was celiac.
Cette maladie qui touche, on l'a vu, énormément de personnes, et pas que les enfants maintenant, a un traitement. Aujourd'hui, il y a un espoir. Quels sont les traitements de la maladie cœliaque?
One of the reasons why I consider celiac not to be a disease is because the treatment is so simple. All it is you cut out gluten from the diet and there is a complete cure. In other words, it's not a disease at all. If you think about other autoimmune problems, as I mentioned, diabetes, when the children need to inject insulin every day, this is entirely different. But there is still research going on as to other treatments for this problem. And I will mention one of them, which is an Israeli study going on, whereby some very good researchers are looking into a drug, a medicine, which the person will eat when he takes the gluten, and this will stop the gluten getting near the intestine, and it will go out of the body into the toilet. So in other words, the gluten will not touch the intestine and the patient will be able to eat gluten. So this is going on at this moment, and there are other studies as well going on to prevent celiac, and this may be something in the future. But I always tell my celiac families that really you are blessed, that if God gave you a problem, it is only this problem which is cured entirely by not eating gluten.
On parle beaucoup d'une technique qui stopperait la consommation de gluten pendant quelques mois, 6 mois à 1 an, et qui ensuite, lors de la réintroduction du gluten, ferait en sorte que la maladie cœliaque disparaisse. Cela me semble étrange. Qu'en est-il exactement, professeur?
No. As mentioned, celiac, the definition of celiac is a permanent intolerance to gluten. Now, what the confusion is that a group of patients, what's called gluten sensitivity or maybe even an allergy to gluten, which is not the same as celiac. In these cases, sometimes later on, you can introduce gluten and nothing will happen. But these patients usually do not have celiac. If it is real celiac, then they need to be on a gluten-free diet for life.
Qu'en est-il d'un patient ou d'une patiente qui ne suivrait pas réellement sa diète au gluten et quelles sont les complications possibles?
As I tell my celiac families, the importance of gluten-free diet in children is the issue of growth. There is no question that if the child adheres to a gluten-free diet, he or she should grow normally. And this is very, very important, and that is why we do discuss with our families the importance of being on an entirely gluten-free diet. No cheating. The only time I allow cheating is on Passover night, when I allow our children to eat a special matzah of oats. Oat matzah only on Passover night. But that is the only exception. I really am very, very strict about it because every centimeter is important. And if the child keeps on a gluten-free diet, he should be able to grow. As far as the older patients are concerned, who are full grown, as I mentioned before, it is very important for the issue of blood count, anemia, calcium, and also various other problems. If a celiac person does not keep the diet, there is a problem with infertility, maybe. And also there are other problems later on in life, which I'd rather not mention now, but it is rather important. We should not allow the intestine to be too inflamed all the time, which can cause very severe problems later on. So I do encourage the celiac people to adhere to a gluten-free diet. There really is no limitation. Anywhere in the world, there is no barrier to a person with celiac. He can go into the military in any country and be a member of parliament.
Quelles sont les voies de recherche aujourd'hui, quelles sont les voies de recherche actuelles dans le cadre de la maladie cœliaque? Et quels sont les espoirs que vous pouvez apporter à nos patients?
I think research is going on in various levels, certainly as far as other treatments are concerned, which I mentioned, binders of people able to eat a molecule which will bind to the gluten and it will not cause damage. There is also research, even right from the beginning, to create wheat which will not have the offending gluten in it, and also various aspects of preventing celiac in families where there is an affected patient by adjusting the diet and the celiac will not happen. So in all these aspects, there is plenty of research going on.
Tous les jours, nous sommes interpellés dans les médias par des questions sur l'agriculture et les modifications génétiques de l'agriculture. Existe-t-il un lien entre ces problèmes liés aux modifications génétiques en agriculture et l'apparition de la maladie cœliaque?
I think you are correct. We are seeing much more celiac than in previous years. There are some countries, like in the Northern Europe, where it is reaching to 2%, 2 out of every 100 has celiac. And it is true that we are seeing a lot more of these autoimmune diseases, unfortunately, than we saw 100, 200 years ago, like diabetes, asthma, multiple sclerosis, all these issues. As far as wheat is concerned, it's true. It seems that we're not eating the same kind of wheat as was produced 200, 300 years ago. There is a lot of questions about that. My personal opinion is, like most doctors, that it is perfectly healthy to eat wheat and perfectly healthy to eat gluten, but there is a body of opinion which is that the wheat is now should not be eaten for other reasons. But there is a discussion about that among doctors.
Professeur Wilczanski, nous arrivons au terme de cet entretien. Je voulais vous remercier, vous dire que vos explications ont été extrêmement claires, intéressantes, et que vous avez pu aussi, j'en suis sûr, apporter toutes les réponses à tous les patients et aux familles de patients qui souffrent de maladies cœliaques et apporter aujourd'hui des réponses claires et, je l'espère, amener un réconfort pour tous ces patients. Merci monsieur, merci pour votre présence et merci pour votre intervention.
Merci beaucoup.